Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Caesar's Palace for 12 rounds of boxing. In the red corner, from Los Angeles, California, wearing the red trunks with the gold trim, weighing in at 125 pounds, the lightweight champion of the world, Danny Little Red Lopez. Well, Bill, our winners get a home theater receiver. That's right. Experience the full potential of high-definition video with this 72-channel digital home theater receiver from Yamaha. But wait, that's not all. They also get a 5.1-channel surround sound system from Mirage. With 5 palm-sized speakers and a compact subwoofer cube, the MX 5.1 brings you huge immersive sound with Mirage's omnipolar technology. All from the Spiegel catalog, Chicago, Illinois, 60609. And they're taking closer order as down the stretch they come. Mr. Hot Stuff has 3 lengths to make up with chocolate candy last. On the rail, take the points behind that gallant son with chocolate candy gaining on the outside. In the lead is Pioneer of the Nile being tackled by chocolate candy. They're neck and neck as they come to the wire. And Pioneer of the Nile holds off chocolate candy and wins the Santa Anita Derby. And now, on your feet, time to greet holder of 14 NBA titles, your home team, your Los Angeles Lakers. Number 3 at 6'8", 5th year out of UCLA, playing forward, Trevor Ariza. Starting at center, number 17 at 7 feet, 4th year out of St. Andrews High School, Andrew Bynum. And at guard, number 24, 6'6", 13th season out of Loyal Marion High School, Kobe Bryant.
Weeks ago, I met a girl. She was real nice, and she invited me to her apartment. So I went over there, and she had the best pussy I have ever... Oh, now, come on! I'm talking about her cat. Now, that makes me sick right there. Now, you can't say anything anymore that people don't take it dirty, and I'm sorry. That disgusts me. That cat was the best fuck I ever had.
Good morning. It's Thursday, Hockey Thursday, April the 10th, and this is The True Conservative. Welcome to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there. I'm Ron, your host, and the only true conservative in the United States today. So today, after the Serenity Prayer and the patriotic song of the day, we will have headlines, patriotic shorts, motivation, Bishop Barron, Ayn Rand, and the Boys of Winter. All that and more when I get back. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I should not change, the courage to change the things I should, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. Thank you. And now the headlines for Thursday, April the 10th. Man run over, killed by alleged shoplifters outside his family's store. Ksenia Karolina released from Russia in exchange. Weezer bassist's wife shot by LAPD amid search for hit-and-run suspect. 2 siblings ages 7 and 9 abducted by their father. Man found dead with abdominal wound in Mission Viejo, Orange County Sheriff's Department says. Inland Empire domestic violence shelter might shut down after federal funds cuts. Velo cuts service from Bay Area hub to operate ICE flights. Simi Valley residents fed up with apparent hoarder house. And those were the headlines for Thursday, April the 10th. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now the political corner.
I do remember how Mr. George Soros published his plan in English in a Project Syndicate publication. It was done 2015, September 26th. And he published a plan. He said that I'm quoting, here are the 6 components of my comprehensive plan. I just quote 2 or 3 points of that. First is, he said very clearly, 2015, that, quoting again, EU has to accept at least 1 million asylum seekers annually. That was the first point. Second, he said, adequate financing is critical. And he proposed to issue long-term euro bonds for financing the migration crisis and the migrants' social and welfare taking care when they arrive to the European Union. And another point which is very important for Hungary, which is involving the territory of Hungary directly into this program, he said that, quoting them, safe channels must be established for asylum seekers, starting with getting them from Greece and Italy to their destination countries, which means to bring them to Greece, to Hungary, and then have them to go to Austria. So don't forget that what we are speaking about is not an accidental stories, not a bulk of 10 years of accidental stories. It's a plan which is going on. It was written. It was published. It's known. So we are fighting again an organized gang called Empire of George Soros and NGOs who are just supporting everybody who is transgressing our legal system.
And that was the political corner with Viktor Orban, the Prime Minister of Hungary. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now the patriotic short.
Married couple who are exactly the portrait of a liberal white couple living in Park Slope, Brooklyn that you would expect, wind up moving upstate and then are surrounded by Trumpers, and they're petrified. But then, when they get stuck in the snow, the Trump guy down the street doesn't hesitate to help dig the liberals out. The author, Larissa Phillips, says she slowly came to reject the political prejudice so common among my tribe, and that it's hard to care where someone stands on politics when they race to your house to save a dying lamb, when their wife helps search for your runaway dogs, and that she personally has been stunned by the depth of my neighbor's generosity. It's almost like there are fine people on both sides.
And that was the political short. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now a little bit of motivation.
What do you do when it seems like suffering won't stop? What do you do when it feels like your pain doesn't have a point? What does it do when it feels like your weaknesses continue to worsen?
Maybe you've taken a knockdown concerning your finances lately. Maybe it's with your kids, maybe with your marriage, maybe with your health, maybe some other arena of life. You're laying on the mat, gasping, and you don't know what you're going to do.
People ask you how you are, and you say fine, but you're not fine, and they'll never know that.
We're people. We're people, and we struggle, and we suffer, and we bleed, and we cry. And if you think that true strength means never showing any weakness, then I'm here to tell you, you're wrong. You're wrong because it's the opposite.
You're gonna get depressed sometimes. You're gonna have weeks where you don't feel like eating, where gravity is working overtime like it's afraid of getting laid off and you can barely lift your fork to your mouth, and you are going to have a choice.
You have a choice to either give up or keep going. Give up or get up.
It's like you have to save your own life. Nobody's going to be able to save it for you. So we have to do what we have to do, no matter what it is.
We all struggle. We all know what it is to hurt. We all know what it is to have pain in our heart. And you know what? It's okay. That's just a part of life. As much as I hate some of the parts of my life depression has dragged me down to, in a lot of ways I'm grateful for it. Because yeah, it's put me in the valleys, but only to show me there's peaks. And yeah, it's dragged me through the dark, but only to remind me there is light.
Life is not always good. Life is not always rosy. Life is worth living. When you fail, try again. And again. And again.
Hold on to that fundamental quality of faith. Have faith that on the other side of your pain is something good.
I believe that this is your beginning, but this doesn't have to be your end. That just because you are currently here, this is your present circumstances, that life don't have to end for you right now. This might be a page in your life. It might even be a chapter in your life, but it ain't the book, baby. You are not finished writing yet, so I need you to get busy living. Are you hearing me? I need you to get busy living. There is still time. As long as there's breath in your nostrils, as long as you can wake up in the morning, you still in the game, which means if you're in the game and there's still time in the game, still time left in the game, you can still win the game.
The last chapter of your story has not been written yet. The fact that you're here today is a testament to the fact that the devil hasn't been able to destroy you.
You're in the darkest place of your life right now. You're at the darkest place of your life right now. Hold on. Don't give up. Don't quit. You're at the darkest point of your life. If you could just look at your situation from a different angle and realize that beauty does come from death.
Are you in a storm or are you just in between two miracles? You take those terrible events in your life and you create a new story of triumph. We gotta become something new. We take those traumas, we take that pain, and we allow it to become a part of who we want to be. What if I told you that there's greatness on the other side of your darkness, that there is joy on the other side of your pain? What if I told you you got everything you need to make it through your storm? This storm will not take you out. And I know you've been tired, and I know it's been hurting, and I know it's been lifelong, and it might be an addiction. It may be wondering how much longer you're going to have a job, or when you're going to get one, or when this is all going to be over. But you're not going to die in this trial. You're going to make it. In fact, you're going to be better.
I want you to look in the mirror and I want you to tell yourself, I am a survivor. Listen to me and you can get through this. I want you to speak life into that thing. Whatever it is, what's frustrating you, like for real, you feel like I can't go through another day like this. I can't handle it. I can't take it. Listen to me very closely. Say it with me and breathe life into whatever that thing is. Whatever your circumstances are, say with me, I can. I can. I can get through this. I will. I will get through this. I must.
And that was a little bit of motivation. Back in a minute. Thank you. Now a little bit of meditation. And that was a little bit of meditation. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now the Daily Stoic.
This isn't for fun. It's for life. Philosophy isn't a parlor trick or made for show. It's not concerned with words, but with facts. It's not employed for some pleasure before the day is spent, or to relieve the uneasiness of our leisure. It shapes and builds up the soul. It gives order to life, guides action, shows what should and shouldn't be done. It sits at the rudder, steering our course as we vacillate in uncertainties. Without it, no one can live without fear or free from care. Countless things happen every hour that require advice, and such advice is to be sought out in philosophy. Seneca, Moral Letters, 16.3. There is a story about Cato the Elder, whose great-grandson Cato the Younger became a towering figure in Roman life. One day, Cato witnessed a fine oration from Carneades, a skeptic philosopher, who waxed poetically on the importance of justice. Yet the next day, Cato found Carneades arguing passionately about the problems with justice, that it was merely a device invented by society to create order. Cato was aghast at this kind of philosopher who treated such a precious topic like a debate where one would argue both sides of an issue purely for show. What on earth was the point? And so he lobbied the Senate to have Carneades sent back to Athens, where he could no longer corrupt the Roman youth with his rhetorical tricks. To a Stoic, the idea of idly discussing some issue, of believing or arguing two contradictory ideas, is an absurd waste of time, energy, and belief. As Seneca said, philosophy is not a fun trick. It's for use, for life.
And that was the Daily Stoic. Thank you. And now, heresy.
I want to ask the priests here a question. What percentage of your parishioners would you say have this idea that their body is a shell and that at death the soul's liberated from the prison of the body? Father Chuck? 98%. Father Luke? Maybe 90? About 90%. Okay, so let's put this in perspective. These are the people who actually come to Mass. I've asked thousands of priests that question over the years, and the lowest I've ever gotten is like 70-ish%. The highest is about 98%. But I get it in that range very regularly. So let's just go with, say, 85%. So what are we saying here? We're saying that 85% of the people who come to Mass on Sunday, these are the people who actually care about their faith. They believe a heresy that attacks our faith at its deepest roots.
And that was heresy. And now, the Ayn Rand thought of the day. Quote, "The right to life means that a man has the right to support his life by his own work, on any economic level, as high as his ability will carry him. It does not mean that others must provide him with the necessities of life," unquote. And that was Ayn Rand from the chapter Man's Rights from the book The Virtue of Selfishness. Back in a minute. Thank you. And this is a little bit of Maria Bartiromo. And this is the tail end of a conversation she was having with the director of the Treasury. And then she's going to be asking Jamie Dimon, the CEO of one of the big banks, a question.
The dollar is no longer going to be the reserve currency. You know, if you end up with the Chinese who are willing to use their currency as a trade tool, that doesn't seem like a very good reserve asset to me.
Yeah. Jamie, your reaction?
Well, he's exactly right. You have a lot of deleveraging hedge funds and players out there, which he obviously is quite experienced in things like that. And that is the initial effect. There will be other effects, and we still are the reserve currency, which will be true for a long time. But a very important point, China and Russia have made it clear they want to kind of dismantle the post-World War II system. And I think the goal of all this trade stuff should be to make Europe and our trading partners, Japan, Korea, Philippines, stronger, not weaker, bring them closer as we build up our military. And any trade that protects military, that we should definitely do. I mean, we made a lot of mistakes about, as you know, pharmaceuticals, shipping, pharmaceutical ingredients.
Okay, so that's good enough for what she's doing here. She has him on the show. That's great, I thought. Wow, she gets the message. She understands that the markets don't move themselves. They're moved by the big investment banks. And Jamie Dimon is the CEO of one of the big investment banks. And so she's going to have him on the show. But she doesn't confront him. She treats him as though he is a spectator. Hey, what do you think about what's going on? Are you kidding? He's the reason that the markets are in the tank. He's the reason that we've been losing value in our 401ks for the past week. Him. The question she should be asking this guy is, why are you selling stock? What are you doing? What are you thinking? And how long do you intend to keep doing this? The other question she should ask him straight off is, are you a Trump hater? Is this supposed to be some sort of punishment? Are you a Democrat? Did you vote for Kamala Harris? Without context, this whole interview is worthless. Non-profit news now. Back in a minute. Thank you, Maria, Stu.
Agree they didn't buy more yesterday.
That's
good.
Right. You should have bought them with both hands, like I said so. Luke,
would you call Jamie back and maybe we could double that and get him up a little bit? That'd be really beneficial. Well, trust the process. We have the art of the deal president. He's going to make this come to fruition.
Erica.
Well, congratulations on having such an influential show, Maria.
Yes.
The bottom line, though, is Trump is doing exactly what the American people hired him to do. There's no one else that we want representing us on the world stage and putting American dominance back at the front.
Yeah, for sure. Don't forget, we're right on the doorstep of first quarter earnings, so that's going to set the tone next week.
Without a doubt, yeah. And hopefully we see some good numbers, but the guidance might not really be there. So.
Yeah, the guidance is going to be hard. They don't have the clarity, so
they'll get a free pass.
Guidance on that. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you again tomorrow. Thank you for this esteemed panel. Mark Tepper, Luke, and Erica, great to see you both. Varney and Company picks it up. Stu, take it away.
Good morning, Maria. Good morning, everyone. Take a big, deep breath. There's a whirlwind coming at you and your money. We'll start with inflation. Last month, consumer prices went down 0.1%. In the last year, they're up only 2.4%. Those are favorable numbers. Inflation is softening. Now the market. After Wednesday's monumental rally, the Dow was up 7.9% yesterday. This morning, it's going to be down about 500, maybe 600 points. The S&P up 9.5% yesterday. This morning, it's going to open down about 1.8%. The Nasdaq, well, that was up an extraordinary 12% yesterday. Today, we're going to be down about 2%. So we've retraced part of yesterday's rally, but we're not all the way back to where we were a couple of days ago, by any means. The market is not responding to the inflation numbers. Inflation was softening. Haven't seen much impact on the market from that. But the news that Speaker Johnson cancelled the vote on tax cuts in the budget, that is hurting stock prices. There's a split between the House and the Senate. Hardliners in the House want $1.5 trillion worth of spending cuts. The Senate has offered only $4 billion. We're told that another vote has been scheduled for this morning. We'll see. Look at interest rates. It was the rise in the 10-year yield that influenced the president. This morning, that yield is a more manageable 4.35%. And the 2-year, that is well under 3.9%. You're looking at 3.85. Bitcoin, that's rallied to around $82,000, 81.6 at the moment. All right, big day. On the show today, the Europeans have paused their countermeasures against America for 90 days. Reportedly, 15 countries have already made solid deal offers. We'll confirm that with Kevin Hassett in just a moment. Meanwhile, China will restrict the number of Hollywood movies they will allow in. They remain isolated and vulnerable. Look, we've had a remarkable week, and it's only Thursday. The fake news that rallied the Dow 1,000 points in 2 minutes, the real news that Trump had paused reciprocal tariffs, and the monster rally that followed. Who knows what breaks next? It's a moment-to-moment day in politics and money. It is Thursday, April the 10th, 2025.
And that was Stu and Maria, Non-Profit News Now. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now the Byung-Chul Han Corner. In a memoir involontaire, two separate moments in time combine into one fragrant crystal of time. The tortuous contingency of time is thereby overcome, and this produces happiness. By establishing strong connections between events, a narrative overcomes the emptiness and fleetingness of time. Narrative time does not pass. This is why the loss of our narrative capacities intensifies the experience of contingency. This loss means we are subject to transience and contingency. The memory of the grandmother's face is also experienced as her true image. We recognize the truth only in hindsight. Truth has its place in remembrance as narration. And that was Byung-Chul Han from The Crisis of Narration. Back in a minute. Thank you. And now, The Boys of Winter.
Post-game. Fins and farewells. Outside the U.S. locker room in the Olympic Fieldhouse, a cinder block wall was disappearing beneath a pasted-up patchwork of yellow congratulatory telegrams that had come in from all over the world, faster than a Buzz Schneider slap shot. As soon as they arrived, Sheldon Burns would tape them to the wall. Burns, a young physician, was relocating his practice in Minnesota and had a little free time that winter, and had contacted Ralph Jasinski, the team general manager, asking if he could volunteer to help. Burns has since gone on to be a prominent sports physician for several U.S. Olympic hockey teams, as well as the Minnesota North Stars, Timberwolves, and Vikings. But then, he was just a well-educated gopher who wanted to be part of the team. The messages inspired the Americans and annoyed others, specifically Jorma Valtonen, the Finnish goaltender who had stoned the United States in the World Championships the year before. "Who's playing?" Warren Strelo, the U.S. goaltending coach, inquired of Valtonen upon meeting him in the hallway before the U.S.-Finland final. "Who the hell do you think is playing?" "I am, and you are not going to be getting any more of those," Valtonen said, pointing to the yellow wall. Brooks needed no reminders whatever that his team's business wasn't finished with the victory over the Russians. The morning after the miracle, he ripped into his team after seeing them signing autographs and schmoozing with fans and, to his way of thinking, acting as if they had no further challenges ahead of them. Brooks, always wound tight, was even antsier than usual Sunday morning, February 24th. He shared a trailer in the village with Craig Patrick, equipment manager Buddy Kessel, and Jasinski. He got in the shower, metal permutations bubbling in his brain. The order of the final standings would be determined by all the games between the final four teams, even games in the preliminary round. You got 2 points for a victory, 1 for a tie, none for a loss. If teams had the same point total, goal differential would decide the order. Here's how the hockey standings looked heading into the final day of the 13th Winter Games. U.S. win 1, loss 0, tie 1, points 3, goals for 6, goals against 5. USSR win 1, loss 1, tie 0, points 2, goals for 7, goals against 7. Sweden win 0, loss 0, tie 2, points 2, goals for 5, goals against 5. Finland win 0, loss 1, tie 1, points 1, goals for 5, goals against 7. If the United States beat Finland, the gold medal was assured for the Americans. But if the Americans lost to Finland and the Soviets beat Sweden, the Soviets would win the gold, the United States the bronze. If Finland beat the United States by 2 goals and the Swedes managed to tie the Soviets, the gold would go to the Soviets, and the United States would actually slip out of the medals altogether, since all 4 teams would have 3 points, and the United States would have the worst goal differential. Brooks kept lathering and got himself into more and more of a lather. "Herb, you're wasting your time," Jasinski told him. "Don't go through all this folderol about how we could end up with nothing. Let's go out and play the game." The game started shortly after 11 a.m. On the ride over to the arena, Neil Broughton and Dave Christian held out their usual hope that figure skater Ty Babylonia, their favorite Olympic athlete, would be in their shuttle van. She wasn't. Brooks told trainer Gary Smith, "You better get your kit ready because if we lose, a lot of people are going to get hurt jumping off our bandwagon." The coach's message to the players wasn't much more long-winded than it was in the Soviet game. "If you lose this game, you'll take it to your bleeping grave," Brooks said. He didn't have to say much more than that. "We knew he was right," Mark Johnson said. Steve Janicek was struck by the utter contrast from the Friday night speech. In 36 hours, Brooks had gone from mystical and uplifting to pragmatic and threatening. His speech before the Finland game was negative, but the impact was positive, Janicek said. "You wanted to avoid that scenario at all costs." Janicek sat in the locker room and envisioned a 40-year-old guy sitting at a bar and saying, "We were that close. We could have had it all." It was the classic rip-your-heart-out kind of picture, Janicek said. Finland had never won a medal in Olympic hockey and had never beaten the Americans, but this was no team of pushovers. They had a gold lion on their chests and a lot of guys who could get up and down the ice. And in the 33-year-old Valtonen, a confident veteran of a decade of international competition. The Finns were a strange team to peg, though. They opened their games by losing to Poland 5-4, right after Baker's slap shot tied the Swedes on the first day of hockey competition. They lost despite outshooting the Poles 49-25. A week later, they were tied with the Russians with 5 minutes to play, before they were done in by a trademark Russian rampage, 3 goals in 79 seconds. Jukka Porvari, the Finn captain, wanted to keep the crowd out of the game as much as possible, and did his part just over 9 minutes into the final game, one timing a slap shot that flew over Craig's glove from 50 feet to give Finland a 1-0 lead. It was the 6th time in 7 games the United States had fallen behind. Those U.S. players really changed the view that NHL people had of U.S. players, Michael Smith, general manager of the Chicago Blackhawks, said. A whole generation of young American players suddenly had heroes and role models and new heights to aspire to. Pat LaFontaine celebrated his 15th birthday the night the United States beat the Russians. 4 years later, he'd emerge as the brightest young U.S. star in the 1984 games in Sarajevo, beginning a career that culminated with his enshrinement in the U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame on the same day the 1980 team went in. They blew the doors wide open and made it possible for guys like me to get a chance to play in the NHL, LaFontaine said. 13 players from the U.S. team, Ken Morrow, Neil Broughton, Mike Ramsey, Dave Christian, Mark Johnson, Mark Pavelich, Rob McClanahan, Jack O'Callahan, Steve Kristoff, Dave Silk, Bill Baker, Jim Craig, Steve Janisak, went on to play in the NHL. One of them was not Eruzione, whose last competitive goal was the wrong-footed wrist shot that beat the Russians. Eruzione retired a week after the games, having no notion that he'd still be talking about them 25 years later. In time, almost all the players came to appreciate that all Herb Brooks wanted was their best, and he simply had his own way of getting it. He was 42 in Lake Placid. He was a week past his 66th birthday when he died. Friends said that he seemed to be lightening up a little, a bit less inclined to do the windmill tilting, more inclined to enjoy himself. "I'm just a guy from the East Side," he'd always say, and those who knew him best agreed with the simple self-assessment of a complex man. He led a far greater life with far greater impact than one Friday night in Lake Placid, said Dave Conti, the director of scouting for the New Jersey Devils. That may have been his defining moment, but that was just one game. He coached a lot of games and meant so much to so many people. 4 months after the Friday night in Lake Placid, Herb Brooks wrote every player on the team a personal 8-paragraph letter. It read, "Under separate cover, you will be receiving a laminated team picture from Craig and myself. This reflects our complete respect we have for you as an athlete and as a person. I feel respect is the greatest reward in the world of sport. You have earned that from the coaching staff. Personally, this year was not only my most enjoyable year in coaching, but also my toughest. Toughest because it involved making so many difficult decisions regarding the makeup of our final team. Because of that, and because I wanted to be as objective as possible, I stayed away from close personal contacts with you. I did not want the U.S. hockey community to say that regionalism and/or favoritism entered into my final selections. This year was a challenge for all of us. A challenge to live and work as a unit, play a positive game, a creative way, make the most out of our dreams. You met those challenges and conquered them. If there was any team I ever wanted to identify with on a personal basis, this was the team. Hopefully, that day will come. Respectfully, Herb Brooks. Box score. USA versus Soviet Union, February 22nd, 1980, Olympic Fieldhouse. USA 2-0-2-4. Soviet Union 2-1-0-3. First period. USSR Vladimir Krutov, Alexei Kazatonov, 9 minutes 12 seconds. USA Buzz Schneider, Mark Pavelich, 14 minutes 3 seconds. USSR Sergei Makarov, Alexander Golikov, 17 minutes 34 seconds. USA Mark Johnson, Dave Christian, Dave Silk, 19 minutes 59 seconds. Second period. USSR Alexander Maltsev, Krutov, 2 minutes 18 seconds. Third period. USA Mark Johnson, Silk, 8 minutes 39 seconds. USA Mike Eruzione, Pavelich, John Harrington, 10 minutes. Shots on goal. USA 8-2-6, 16. USSR 18-12-9, 39. Goaltenders, Jim Craig, Ladislav Tretiak, Vladimir Mishkin. 1. Penalties. First period, USSR, Boris Mikhailov, 3 minutes 25 seconds, hooking. Second period, USA, John Harrington, 58 seconds, holding. USA, Jim Craig, 9 minutes 50 seconds, delay. USSR, Yuri Lebedev, 17 minutes 8 seconds, unsportsmanlike conduct. USA, Ken Morrow, 17 minutes 8 seconds, unsportsmanlike conduct. Third period, USSR, Vladimir Krutov, 6 minutes 47 seconds, high sticking.
And that was the latest chapter in The Boys of Winter, the untold story of a coach, a dream, and the 1980 U.S. Olympic hockey team, by Wayne Coffey and read by Kirby Hayborn. Back in a minute. Thank you. This is Ron, your host, the only true conservative in the United States today, bidding adios to all the butchers, bakers, and candlestick makers out there and reminding you that you are not neutral and that the government has no rights.